What's up, fight fans? We are back at it with another edition here at Round One Sports TV. I am your host, Edwin. Where do all fights start? We have an amazing show for you here today, so lock in, tune in. Let's talk boxing and breakfast. What's on your mind? What is something that you want to talk about? Uh, let's talk about it. So, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and like always, let's hop right into the video. Well, man, we are a few days out from some of the big fights coming up. Uh, the month of May is going to be really, really, really hot. We're going to be talking about that. We can talk about anything that's on your mind. I'm going to drop the link real early. Anybody want to hop on, talk about anything that related to boxing that we need to address? You can hop on. We can talk about it. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to drop that right there. So there are a few things going around in the sport of boxing right now. And one of the biggest things that I think that are being is kind of being swept under the rug is the power moves that Ed Hearns and um I guess Matchroom, have for the for the IBF 140-pound newly crowned champion Richard Hitchison. It seems like the fix is in, if you ask me. What's up, Rob? How you doing? Checking in from Florida. Good to see you. Haven't heard from you in a while. What's up, brother? So, what's going on is that I think that there's going to be a move made that's it's being set up on the board right now. And the person that's going to get screwed over here in this situation is Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias recently just won a fight in Fajardo, Puerto Rico to become Richard Hitchison's number one contender and mandatory to the IBF 140-pound title. And all of a sudden, out of left field, George Camboza just got a voice box out of nowhere calling out Richard Hitchison. He had a fight scheduled, last minute replacement. They went and found this Australian kid that's like the Australian champion. He stands no chance, I think, against uh, George Camboza, and there should be a good little victory for him. But as far as the level of competition for George, no. All of a sudden, George is, I wake up and he's the number 3 in the IBF at 140 pounds. I'm like, wait a minute. He never fought at 140. Then I started to like break down what's going on. And I'm saying, oh, George here is the sacrificial lamb. He's how they're going to get Richard Hitchison out of from fighting Subriel. He doesn't want to fight Subriel. Richard Hitchison was on an interview there. He was walking outside, I think, from a fight or something, and they asked him about Subriel, and quickly he turned around and said, "Tio." He didn't even want to acknowledge Subriel Matias. So I see that Ed Hearn and them, what they're gonna try to do is make Richard Hitchison wait a little bit and fight George Camboza somehow, and it's gonna show you firsthand, like all these fighters, right? Um, all these fighters are promised something. Like Subriel, he was promised, listen, if you go out and you fight this guy right here, this is gonna make you for a title eliminator, and you're gonna be the number one contender. Then people turn around and say, well, then who did Subriel fight? He didn't fight anybody, they're saying, right? No, that's a lie. He fought the people that signed up to fight him. As Subriel was looking, and then they're like, why is Subriel back at the number 1 spot when there's a lot of people in the weight division, according to Richard Hitchenson's trainer, and that they should honor the fighters that are in the weight division that deserve a shot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The reason why Subriel is at the top is because if you look down, he already beat everybody. He already beat all those guys. So you can't put those guys above him when he got wins on all of them. And then they're talking about what about the other guys in the division that need a shot at the IBF title that are deserving? Okay, well, why ain't you fighting one of them? Why is it that it looks like they're dressing up George Camboza that came up from 135? He wasn't in the weight division. So what is Richard Hitchenson's team saying? They lying. They're like using excuses of why not to fight Subriel. And they're going to try to sweep this under the rug like Subriel's not worthy of fighting for that belt. No, Subriel did exactly what was asked of him. The men that signed up, you can only fight them. Once I fight them and I beat them, you're going to say no? That's like you losing the game and not accepting the loss. You're trying to change the rules because the guy did what you asked. Subriel did what they asked him to do. He fought the guys they put in front of him. Everybody else was mysteriously busy, and they said that he was high risk, low reward because he no longer had a belt. So he goes out there, beats these guys, and all of a sudden, George Camboza is got beef out of nowhere with Richard Hitchinson. And I noticed that George Gamboza had did business with the IBF at 135 with Loma. And he lost that fight. In fact, I can argue that George Camboza lost his last 4 fights. They gave him that fight for that IBO. They gave him that. He lost that fight. Technically, out of the last 4, he won 1. And he lost that fight, man. So, how is a man with, let's not play any hypotheticals. How is a man in his last 4 fights, he lost 3? He only won 1 fight. How is he the number 3 in the IBF today for the 140? He's coming off of a loss. They're going to try to dress him up with this win with this Australian kid, this Australian champion. Who the hell is this? They're going to try to bypass Subriel. I know it. They're going to duck him. So, this is just some of those things in boxing that sometimes I got to remind myself that boxing is a business disguised as a sport. It truly is. And Ed Hearn is going to try to keep his guy, I guess, with the belt. You got to remember that these promoters are as good as the champions they represent. Meaning every time you bring a belt back to Ed Hearn, or Top Rank or Golden Boy, it speaks when the young guys are coming up, like, and they're coaching and they're asking, well, how many world champions have you ever promoted? What have you done for people's career? And the promoter can say, I brought this guy right here to a world championship fight. He became a world champion under my promotional banner. And that speaks to the promotional company of getting the fighters these fights they want. And how many champions have you produced? So at the end of the day, these promoters, they got to get these champions, Edwin, who was George before he beat Team Lopez? He was already. Jose, check this out, right? That goes also two ways, right? Because when George Camboza beat Teofimo Lopez was hot. He was hot, right? But the more that Teofimo Lopez is spiraling out of control, his victory over Teo is starting to go down every day. They're not even looking at that anymore because of what the antics of Teofimo Lopez. And if Teofimo Lopez loses to Arnold Barboza in May, it's a wrap. The credibility of George Camboza's biggest win goes down the toilet with him. George Camboza was nobody. He wasn't nobody leading into the Teo fight, and that's his biggest claim to fame. After that, George Camboza, when he went against the top guys, he lost. He lost. And I got to keep it real, right? You put Teofimo Lopez against George Camboza, 9 out of 10, Teo beats him. That one time, George Camboza beat Teo because Teo couldn't get out of his head. So, George Camboza right now, you got to think about it. He's not the type of fighter you would invest money in. Meaning, do you really think he's going to make another run at those world titles and that he can beat these guys as a promoter, paying or boosting them up using their power and their leverage with the connections and the relationships they made with these organizations? And somehow they went and boosted up George Camboza and put him in the IBF 140-pound number 3 ranking. Why would you do that? As a boxing promoter, why would you do that? Right? The reason is because you're trying to protect your main investment. It's not about George Camboza. It's about Richard Hitchison. And Ed Hearn, that's his fighter. He's going to use George to bypass Subriel. That's exactly what's going to happen. And this is bullshit, and like nobody's talking about this. Why? Because they want you to all believe that Subriel Matias is not him. They want you to believe he's no longer the boogeyman. Really, he's no longer the boogeyman. And that boxing is his kryptonite. He gets hit too much. Really? So all of a sudden you're concerned for Subriel. Don't be concerned for him. Don't worry about how much he gets hit. Go knock him out. In fact, he's never even been put down in a fight. Yeah, sometimes I think he gets hit a little bit too much, but his style is his style. And in order to pull that off, you got to have an iron chin. And if it wasn't for the fact that Liam Paro excessively clinched him, that was a lesson learned for Subriel. I can't believe the referee in Puerto Rico allowed so much clinching on that night. But you better believe that Subriel and his team from here on in are going to point that out in fights. And they're going to say, yo, watch the clinching. Because if you can't grab Subriel Matias, good luck. Good luck. And all this shit about, a boxer is what's going to give him problems. A boxer is what this and this, right? Like, all right. You guys act like Subriel hasn't been in the ring with boxers. No, he has. And I see what Ed Hearn and all these people are doing, and I'm speaking up against it because I don't want this just to get pushed under the rug like that. Because when you do something in boxing and you earn your way, you should be awarded. They told me, fight this dude. I don't. It's not my job to control the rankings or who I fight. I'm doing what was asked of me. What'd you say I had to do? Beat this guy? I'll do it. Then all of a sudden, when we're asking the organizations to keep these fighters accountable, then all of a sudden, a couple dollars can bypass that? I don't think it's. Before it happens, I'm bringing it to the public. Before they pull this move, I see it coming down. Listen, why would you invest in George Camboza? It don't make sense. And I was like, yo, I see what they doing. What's up, guys? What's up, legend? Salute. Yeah, it reminds me of how Devin overlooked Ryan, huh? Yeah, absolutely. He didn't stick to the game plan. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing we talk about, right, Legend? Inside of the fight game, there's much more things that go on in boxing, right? There are much more things that go on in boxing. And what we talk about is mental fortitude. Do you have the mental fortitude to stay to the game plan? When you have when you're keeping it all together, you realize in the fight, if things ain't going your ways, what do you got to do? Make adjustments. Teofimo Lopez made no adjustments. Devin Haney made no adjustments in the fight. It was like Teo and Devin were fighting the same thing on that night. They felt like they were embarrassed. When Teo went down for the first time, Devin went down for the first time, I can see it in their face. They were more worried and they were already thinking about what people were saying about them while they were still in the fight. And whatever was going on in their head didn't allow them to snap out of it. Didn't allow them to be like, yo, let me make some adjustments. Teo's father, round after round, all he kept telling his son, get this bum out of here, knock him out already. He wasn't I'm telling him instructions. He wasn't telling him the fight was going wrong. He wasn't reminding him, hey, Teo, snap out of it. That's what your corner is for. I feel like his corner let him down. And they allowed Teo to go out there round after round, continue losing this fight. And Devin was the same way. But Devin got played worse, if you ask me. Devin Haney got played worse because I truly believe Devin fell for it. All Ryan's antics. Shit, I think the world did. They saw him on stage drinking that beer. I was like, makes you think that's beer? Fucking Ryan came in on like a white horse. He was being carried on his shoulders on some press conferences. Ryan was losing his mind, talking about the kids and rich people doing all this shit to him. And there was a lot of people mad at Ryan Garcia. Then all of a sudden he tests positive. I'm like, yo, Ryan, you might have pissed off the wrong people and somebody might have set that kid up. We don't know, right? But it would be like me coming on today and arguing the point of what transpired. That's old news. That would be foolish and silly, right? Because who the hell is arguing this thing about Ryan and Devin anymore, right? He got his O removed and you got a year suspension and they're about to fight on a card. I think it's time to move forward, don't you think? That shit is over with. I wouldn't come on and argue how much was in his, or say Ryan was a cheat. That's already been established. Didn't he get a suspension? Yes. Is he coming back? Yes. Is his O removed? Yes. Okay, can we move forward? That would be like foolish. Nah, anybody's still arguing that point, bro. I wouldn't listen to them no more. Cause it means you just can't move on in life. It means you stay stuck on the same argument. Life keeps going, bro. You gotta move with it, right? Sit here and argue that shit. Ryan's about to fight fucking Rolly. And that fight right there with Teo and Arnold Barboza, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. This is looking bad for Teo, bro. Look, Eddie Reynoso, like, stop fucking with Teo altogether, right? What I thought, like, I knew that the public was going to take it real bad. It might be exactly what you're all thinking. That Teo's such a fuck up and Eddie Reynoso did, and Saul said, nah, we don't want all them distractions and everything that comes with Tio, bring him into our, into our team. And I think everybody's taking it that way, right? But the truth is this, for me, right? Let's say Tio didn't have all this controversy. Let's say Tio, the people were, still fucking with him, rocking with him. And let's say he went over there to Eddie Reynoso, right? I don't think Eddie Reynoso could take Tio on. How? He's got Ryan Garcia. He's got Jaime Munguia. He's got Saul Canelo Alvarez fighting the next day. How could Eddie Reynoso, he's only one man, which he's going to do 4 hours with Tio and then 6 hours with Saul every day? And then what about Jaime and Ryan Garcia? How is he going to juggle that many fighters that close together fighting? If you ask me, he couldn't take Tio on anyway. How can he do? You think he's going to be in Saudi Arabia one day and then down to New York City for Tio and then for the South? Not in Las Vegas. Like, how is he going to do that? So even if he said no in a responsible way, telling Tio, yo, Tio, I love you. I want to see you win this fight, but honestly, I don't have the time to train you. And even if Tio, because of all these antics, the people are going to take it the wrong way. And I get it. And they're going to say, oh, this is going to hurt Tio. And all of a sudden, everybody is saying like, because they're saying that Eddie Reynoso could have filled in the holes that Tio has with the problem going forward. He's not really good creating stuff. He can fight good off the back foot and countering. That's Tio's game. He sits back like this and he waits for you to throw punches and he counters off your punches. Tio can fight really well off the back foot, but when the pressure is not coming Tio's way, he's not the type of fighter that can create situations in the moment. He doesn't know how to cut off the ring, and he doesn't know how to stalk the guy. Tio's only good when the person's coming forward. He's basically built his whole career off of that. Laying back, trying to dip, boom, boom, countering. He's really effective when it comes to that. So they thought that Eddie Reynoso would fill the gap for Tio. We are weeks out from that fight. What's this mean for Tio? Who's he going to get to train him? His dad again? The same thing? Like, I'm not sure, but this is not making Tio's team look good at all, man. At all. What's up, legend? I hear you. How would you compare Tio's professional with Devin with they both beat Loma? Look, let me tell you something right now, right? What Devin Haney is arguing is bullshit. And what the fans are salty to Devin about is really bullshit. It's headlines. It's things that he did outside of boxing, to tell you the truth. Yeah, that looked bad against Ryan. But be honest with yourself. Just be honest with yourself. Who's the better boxer? Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney? Devin Haney's the better boxer. Ryan Garcia is the stronger puncher. Yeah. He got caught early. Devin can nullify that left check hook. Ryan's fucked. What else Ryan got? He's screwed. Devin can nullify that check hook. Now he's going to take him serious. Devin is probably going to beat Ryan because Ryan's going to solely depend on his power. If you don't listen, you get Devin Haney, a world-class trainer, a world-class coach, a guy like Terrence Crawford's coach, right? Uh, uh Bozy Ennis, I don't know. Um, you get him a world class coach, right? If Devin Haney was to walk through your door in a gym, boy, you got a great start. He's a talent. Uh, you don't have to be the greatest puncher in the world to be a world champion. You got to have skills, right? Okay, I can work with Devin Haney. You don't got to change him. You just got to make a couple corrections, keep him focused, and Devin Haney will be Devin Haney. You know, but when it comes to accomplishments, you know, without Devin Haney fighting all the criticism, that young man accomplished some shit in boxing, bro. He sure the hell did. Like, you'll never be able to take that away from him. The youngest undisputed champion in boxing history at 23 years old. Are you fucking crazy? He had all 4 belts at 23. That's remarkable, right? I don't care how he got them, right? You could argue that all you want. Fuck what you heard, right? What's going down in the history books? Oh, he got faxed over 1 belt. He beat 1 guy for 3 belts. And so because he had 3 belts, I'm not supposed to whoop his ass. Fuck out of here, man. He had 3 belts. He was that kind of champion. Well, then that's what kind of champion I be. I didn't beat a guy with 1 belt. I didn't beat a guy with 2 belts. The type of champion I fought, Devin Haney can say, that man had 3 belts. Same shit Terrence Crawford can say about Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. had 3 belts. And Devin, he accomplished some shit. I know he's under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of people might have a lot to say about him. I get it. If you like him, you like him. If you don't, you don't. I'm not here to sell you on him. You know, I'm just here to talk facts in boxing. And the fact is, the young man accomplished some shit. Okay? You know, his name said it all. Dream. You can dream big. The young man dared to be great. Went to Australia. Got that belt. Same shit with Terrence Crawford, right? Terrence Crawford, when he got his first world title, he had to go abroad. He had to go fight out there. What was it, Scotland? He went out there and he destroyed that man. Ooh, man. Horn there, man. He beat the brakes out of that man, bro. Terrence, he was a different beast back then. That's when he was switching it up, lefty to righty. Terrence was vicious. He was vicious. He turned into a different person in the ring, man. You could see it in his eye that he enjoyed beating people up. Terrence Crawford. He likes that shit. I felt like a lot of times he played with his food. A lot. And a perfect example, Sean Porter. Perfect example that you can blatantly see Terrence was playing with his food. One, I think he was taking it easy on Sean Porter because he was also an American fighter and a brother. And he was going to beat him, but he wasn't going to, they whispered. I think it was in the 10th round to Terrence Crawford. On the unofficial scorecard, you're losing this fight. That goes to show for when everybody talks about when Turkey does it or when Floyd did it. A lot of people have done this in boxing, but everybody wants to forget about everybody else, right? So they whispered to Terrence, they say, they saying Sean Porter's winning this fight. Terrence looked back and said, what? He said, on an unofficial scorecard, Sean Porter's winning the fight. Terrence Crawford got up, knocked him out. he put him out. It just goes to show you, at any point in that fight, he could have finished him. As soon as they told him he didn't play around, went out there and knocked him out. That seemed like a minute after that. And he was an animal, bro. Ryan and Rolly press was boring. Yeah, because Rolly's no longer talking anymore. From the times that he went with, what sold him was the way he was with Tank Davis. He came out with the fur coat, talking mad shit. I'm knocking this midget out. And the world was laughing. But at some point, they weren't laughing with him. They were laughing at him. And then I guess he felt foolish or whatever in some of the situations, because a lot of times I was laughing with him because he was kind of funny. It seems like in the last 2 or 3 fights, even with Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he hasn't been as funny or as boisterous or nothing. He's been kind of corny because I think he realizes that he's not on the same level of these guys, and he's actually should be happy that he's in the position that he's in. Rolly. All right, because Teofimo Lopez is out here acting a fool and saying the most outlandish shit in the world to get attention, because apparently he can have more skills than Rolly, but Rolly can talk his mouth and get the main event. That must make Teofimo Lopez's skin crawl. How the fuck is Rolly on the main event when I was a world champion, a better world champion? I got a belt at least right now. As a matter of fact, he's the only man on that whole fucking fight card that got a legitimate world title. And he's not even like the co-main event. He's on the undercard. Teo must be pulling his hair out. Like, what the fuck do I gotta do? What do I gotta say? Then all of a sudden he's eating bananas. He's making these references that he's saying the most outlandish shit. Because guys like Rolly is getting it all and they got no skills compared to Teo. Teo would beat the shit out of Rolly. Rolly's main eventing it. Go figure. And that's why Teo's like saying all this crazy shit, but now Rolly's shutting down. He's shutting down. He's not and that's the one thing that they wanted to keep seeing. You know that. Well, Jose, it's not that I don't think. See, the father-son relationship works when the father still has control as a father, rather than it seems like because of financial or the son is leading the way, all of a sudden the son starts to tell the father what to do, and the father plays the back part in the position. I believe that's where things get as a father and son. It works in some cases. Look at Naoya Inoue, the Japanese superstar, and his father, Shingo. Naoya Inoue gives his father the respect as a coach and as a dad. You've never seen them argue back and forth. Nothing. Naoya Inoue understands the sacrifices and the things that his father wants for him, and he doesn't question it. He just asks his dad, what next? And Devin Haney's situation and Brian Norman Jr.'s situation and the situation with Shakur Stevenson and Schofields, and you see some of these fathers and Teofimo Lopez and his father, and the combination of antics, both son and father, like Devin Haney, his father, Bill, he's real boisterous, and a lot of the things that Bill said, the son had to answer for. All these threats, you better put your kids to bed because I'm sending my son out there to commit a homicide and kill Ryan. He wants you to forget all that when Ryan tested positive. Forget about everything I said. But the world doesn't. And sometimes some of these father and son relationships can be toxic for the son and the father. And the son must pull away, like Oscar De La Hoya did with his father. Oscar De La Hoya pulled away from his father and he took off in his career. And his father was very bitter. And he said, because of me, you are the man you are today. Like Floyd and his dad. It didn't work out too good. when you got two personalities that want to dominate each other, and it's always in the history of mankind, the son always challenges the father for the throne of the house. Whether you're a king or an ordinary dad, at some point, if you don't control the situation with your son will raise his hand to you. It's just always been the way with fathers. These kids don't come with manuals. And I don't know what he likes or dislikes about me, but the one thing I notice is all how you were raised. The level of respect that the individual as a son gives his father. I had to learn that if I was going to forgive someone for talking to me about a certain way, if there was a man in the world that can talk down to me, swear at me, call me outside of my name, and I should forgive him, it would be my dad. I can't treat everybody the same. I can't treat my dad the same way I would treat a regular dude on the street. If that dude says something to me outside of his mouth, I'm going 5 strong to the mustache, right? But if my father said that to me, I'd probably bow my head. I don't want to argue back with him. I gotta make sure that in my life I respect something, because if I respect nothing, nothing's going to respect me back. When you're dealing with a man that won't even respect his own father, he respects no one. You have to learn in life how to lower your own ego and how to set standards for the men and women that are in your life, not to treat them the same. Yeah, this woman might not be able to talk to me like that, but if my mom said something, I'd bow my head. I wouldn't further in the argument, even if she was wrong, because it's going to lead me to say something to her. And if anybody in this world I should lower myself to are the parents that birthed me. I got to keep an evil ground. It teaches me how to be humble and to view things. But don't get it confused. You hear my dad say something to me and then you think you can say it, you're going to find out the hard way. So it's you got to have this. So these father and son relationships, some of them I never want to see a father and son relationship break up, to tell you the truth. No. No. I'm always gonna think that maybe you can ask him to take a step back. Maybe he might not like that, whatever. Maybe he might not like you for a minute or be angry, and then you come back and bring him in and set new ground rules or something. But the intention of always bringing him back, never, allowing the public's persona or what transpired to break your relationship with your dad. I think that you and your father would have to really sit back and like discuss things, just maybe ask him to take a step back, and if he's not willing to do that, then you might have to cut him off for a little while, but always come back and show love. That would have been your whole intentions on just, showing him that way. But as for any other father and son, if they can work it out, work it out, work it out. Because in this world, right, you think you want to get a boxing manager, a boxing promoter, and things like that, but you want to get somebody that, knows. Devin Haney's father was working in the music industry, making contracts and shit like that. So he was a bit of a businessman, so I can see where that he has a business mindset. He might not know it all and probably didn't get every dollar for for Devin, but he's trying as a father. He's really trying. And if I was gonna put a penny in anybody manager's pocket, I would rather put it in my dad's pocket. Doesn't mean that your dad always has the best intentions and knows the ins and outs. He's gonna make mistakes, and it's gonna be, you're gonna second guess yourself. But At the same time, that's pops, you know, um, and somehow I gotta keep him around because he came up with me. Never forget who came up with you. If Devin Haney's father was driving him all over Tijuana in Mexico and bringing him in and out of those Mexican fucking bars, gambling on his son, knocking out the Mexican fighters and running out the back door because they wanted to see you afterward. There was a lot of time Devin and his father had to jump in the car and fucking beat feet out of the Tijuana bars, right? And that was your pops, man. He was rocking with you. And when we get to the big time, I say a couple of things. You want to cut me off? Nah. You got to work that shit out. Sometimes Devin's dad is funny. Sometimes he says too much sometimes, but what promoter doesn't? What the fuck? Ed Hearn and Bob. Who are we comparing Bill Haney to? To what? To the rest of these snakes? You're doing your job then. Fuck it, right? That's my dad, bro. Always talking shit. Listen, I've been there a few times with my pops. He done did some shit around me, and hey, that's dad, man. I can't do anything about that. you know. Thank you, Troll. What's up, baby? Yeah, you gotta let your son become his own man. And the thing is that sometimes some of these sons are either legends or boxing other fathers. And sometimes when your father was like that man, the man in the sport, you're always being compared to him. After every fight, they're coming in your face with a microphone, and it's like they're doing it on purpose. Like they want you to say that you're better than your dad. You know what I mean? And it was like this saying that I heard it one time in my life when we were kids. Me and my brother, we grew up on this street, Woodland Street, right? And one time this kid came out of nowhere and was like, yo, your brother can fight, man, and you can fight. He was like, who would win in a fight between you and your brother? I turned around, I looked at him, and I was like, who would win in a fight between me and you? And he looked at me, I was like, why would you want me to fight my brother? Why would you want me to think that I should, because he's a good fighter? Why are you trying to divide me and my brother? I think that was the last time we kicked it, me and that kid. I never really seen him again. I think that's why. I ain't like him from the first time I seen him. He tried to tell me to fight my own. I was like, what? He's like, who win out of me and you? How about that? Like, I don't, or they're always trying to get these kids to turn on their dad or their uncle. Like when Roger Mayweather was the Mexican assassin, they always compared Floyd to his dad, and until Floyd was like, I'm better than my dad, and I was like, wow, he fell for that, huh? Really, he allowed them to, instead of being like, nah, my dad he did his thing, and I'm making my way, my name. And we start to realize, like, don't allow them to divide you. Your son's gonna be his own man. You gotta know when to break away. Like Chris Eubank Jr. and all them dudes, and you see the dads up there talking, and it's sometimes they don't live up to their dad's standard. One of the biggest, I think, my opinion, is Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., bro. His father is upset. Like Chavez, like, in order to live up to that name, God, that's crazy. Imagine being Floyd's son. Uh-uh. But they're good. They're good for the sport. They just you gotta have a healthy relationship, because Naoya Inoue and his father Shingo got a great relationship, man. Their culture is a lot different. It's a lot more respect. I be watching Naoya Inoue and different shit. That motherfucker is awkward as hell. He can't do nothing else in life but fight. He can't play basketball. He can't throw a football. He can't swing a bat. Nothing. Yo, he is so awkward. Even when he walks. The Japanese dude, they got like this kind of like walk. It's like, and they all got it, right? That's not where his genius lies. He doesn't throw basketballs. He don't need to know how to throw a football, right? He fights. He's a fighter through and through, you know. And I guess that's all you really got to concentrate is the craft that you're in, right? So yeah. So what does this mean for Teal now? Is his dad gonna train him now? Is his dad gonna prepare him for Arnold Barboza, which I think is probably gonna be one of his toughest fights, but on so many levels. On so many levels. Teal's fighting for a lot in this fight. Not only is he fighting to keep his title at the WBO World Championship at 140, he's also fighting the media and everything he said, the scrutiny. Teal goes out there and gets knocked out, the world is going to laugh at him. They're going to be like, ah, and the memes are going to be, they're just going to run rampant. And people are going to take it like Arnold Barboza is their hero. He was the one that went out there and silenced Teal's mouth. If Teal loses this fight, he loses on so many different levels. I don't think he can afford to lose this fight, if I'm being honest with you. I think the balance of Teofimo Lopez's trajectory in his career truly lie in this fight. When we talk about shit on the line in different fights, I think it's all on the line for Teal. And then having a last minute coach change, I mean, that can be distracting when, you know, it might not be the most greatest skilled opponent or the fight that the people wanted to see Teal fighting. Like a unification fight would have been a more, you know, it would have been a more eye-catching fight type shit. But Teal's fighting a lot of things in this fight. He really is. Now, can Teal come out of this fight a winner? Even if he wins the fight, are the fans going to gravitate back to Teal? And I can honestly say that boxing is the type of sport, if you bring the fans blood, they'll love you again. They really will. If this is a dragged out, knocked out, banged out type fight, you see Teal fight adversity and type shit, and or he goes out there and makes it look easy and he knocks out Arnold Barboza, which many people don't think he's going to do, because his power never really translated to 135. It never really carried over. So when, you know, I think that if Teal can give that kind of performance, I'm not saying he's going to win everyone over. No, absolutely not. Right. But I think he can win new fans over and win over some old fans back. I'm not sure if, first Teal needs to shut his fucking mouth. First of all, and stop bringing props to a fight or some sword and shit. Concentrate on Arnold Barboza, right? He can beat this fight, go into a unification fight, maybe with Africa. I don't know. And then I think he can get back into with a unification, a good win over Arnold Barboza. Teal can start getting back into the greats, but he has to shut up. Just shut up and fight. And with a little bit of time, people will forget about that and he'll become a better champion. I think Teal can, you know, he's still good for the sport. But he loses this fight. No, of course not. Arnold Barboza and Ramirez. Oh, we all saw that fight. And Ramirez is fighting Devin Haney on that card. So Ramirez is a crafty little fighter too in his own right. Arnold Barboza got some pretty good wins. This is no cherry pick. It's one of the first times that the organization actually took the interim champion and made him fight the champion right away. WBO's doing that, in fact, right now. When is the last time we saw that shit? Where the interim fought the real champion. That's what's going on here with Arnold Barboza and Tio. Arnold Barboza just won that interim belt off defeating Jack Catterall. They awarded him the interim. The next fight, he's fighting the real champion, Tio. I think that's awesome. We don't need them interim belts. Whoever wins or loses, that interim belt is gone. And I'm like, that's what Tio needs to do. Cherry pick. This ain't no cherry pick by. Ain't nobody should say this is a cherry pick. He's legitimately fighting the top guy deserving to that WBO title. You can't get any higher next to Tio. Because even the number one mandatory for the WBO, any unification trumps the mandatory. We all know that. That is a legitimate unification. It might not be a unification as far as organizations, but it's a unification within the organization. Still considered a unification. You can't get any higher than Arnold Barboza. Top contender, top guy, deserving. No cherry pick for Tio. Nope. If you call Arnold Barboza a fraction of a cherry pick, you're just talking shit in boxing now. Because you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm trying to tell you, right, Legend? Them people that they be trying to say that about Tio, they don't know what the fuck they talking about, bro. That dude is fucking worthy. Arnold Barboza. He legit. And then when you look back and you say, oh, who did he fight? Motherfucker. Whoever they got for me to fight me. If they told me to fight Jack Catterall to be the mandatory team, that's what he did. Yo, and it's the shit that the organization backed them. When we're asking Subriel Matias to fight that fight in Fajardo, right? And beat Gilbert there, right? That's what you told him to do. After he does it, oh no, who'd you fight? You didn't fight any of the top guys. What about the guys at 140? You should fight them first. Subriel got there. He did what you asked him. It's like you're playing a game of 21. You're smoking the dude. You need 1 point to win the game. And the guy says, next bucket wins the game. He's got like 4 points. You got 20. And you agreed to that shit. All right, next bucket wins. He drills it, walks off. You're like, whoa, nah, you didn't win that shit. You only got 5 points. I got even done. Why'd you agree to it? Once I hit the shot, now you want to get bitter? You should have never agreed to the last shot. Hell no, the last shot don't win. You better check that shit up and get him each point like I got it. Be smart, right? Once Subriel did that, now they talking about, no, that's not what was promised to me. I like that the WBO is honoring that right there and is putting it to fight Teofimo Lopez. He is the most deserving. He has the interim. There's nobody higher than him. The number one guy doesn't have a belt. He has an interim belt. He's next in line. You don't got a belt. Where's your belt? Where's your belt? At least I got this. Who's first? Arnold. What's up, TT? How you doing? Tio lost a lot of fans with them racist comments that he made. Real poor choice of wording, but like it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, Tio is fighting good level of competition like the Lomas and shit, and you know, and not of late though, right? Not like Josh Claggett. He's a barroom fucking fighter. Like Clagic never even fought on. Who the hell did Clagic ever fight? Did he ever main event anything? Co-main event anything? I don't think he ever had. He fights like in fucking bars and shit. So I can't say that Tio's, selection of. I mean, Sandal Martin was probably like a good. I gotta give him that, right? But I saw Sandal Martin lose the other night to Puello, and I said to myself, well, in that fight, I realized what Sandal Martin is. Sandal Martin is a good fighter, little crafty fighter, tough guy. He's not a closer. He doesn't know how to close a fight. He lets the fight slip away from him each time, in each big moment. That's Sandal Martin's problem. He doesn't know how to close the fight. That's it. I think he would have beat Puello. He had the fight. It was right there. He just let off the gas and stopped doing the things that was working in the fight. He let Puello get a little bit of confidence, and Puello ended up them later rounds strong. And I could see where the judges was like, look, it is what it is. I can't think of a better opponent for Tio. I can't think of any fight that he had of late, that I can just sit here. I'm not going to defend his fights. I can't. Tio had to fight better guys. That's just the bottom line. He had to fight better guys. But this fight right here it's an interesting fight. I mean, the Ryan Garcia fight, I want to see Ryan back in the ring. I want to see Devin, what he's going to look like. Ramirez, like, it's just tricky. It's tricky with him, right? I recognize he's at the tail end of his career. Okay. I don't know how his knees, how the bounce in his knees, how much bounce does he have left at this age in boxing to be mobile? I don't know. Is he going to be a stationary target for Devin Haney? Is he going to be able to be, follow Devin? Devin's a mover. He's a mover. He's always on his feet. He's typically sometimes in a fight he'll turn into like a one-punch fighter where that Devin will just stick that jab. If he sees that he can win the fight with a jab, Devin will play it safe. You saw when Devin Haney had Regis Progress badly hurt, he didn't go in. He played it safe. He stood on the outside. He kept them at the end of his punches. So, with Ramirez, with the old vets, what you have to, you can say, oh, he's old. He lost a step, this and that. But whatever they lose in a step, they gain in experience, fighting experience. And they know how to weather a storm, be patient, and set up their shot. Just because you're more skilled than the guy doesn't mean that technically that should award you the fight. When you saw Tim Tszયુ's dad fight against what's his name there, Zab Judah. Zab Judah was clearly the better fighter in that fight. What did Tim Tszયુ's dad do? He waited for his moment. He weathered the storm. He saw the mistake that Tim Tszyu was doing. When he was evading with his waist and he was leaving his feet planted. That means when you lean back, you couldn't go back any further because he didn't shift back. He leaned back. And Tim Tszyu knew as soon as He threw that jab, that punch that he wanted him to evade, and Tim Tszyu was gonna, Zab Judah was gonna try to look good, just evading like that. He knew his feet were planted. He set that trap and boom, and the rest was history. And Zab Judah was the better fighter in that ring that night. But Tim Tszyu made the better read. Tim Tszyu's dad made the better read. Yeah. So it's not always that, like, just because Devin Haney, I believe, is the more younger, I think faster, I think has the better jab, better footwork. With Ramirez, all he has to do is weather the storm, be patient, and apply pressure. If you can have Devin Haney going back, that can be exhausting, fighting always going back. So you got to get Devin Haney to keep resetting himself. Don't let him flow. And Ramirez is, he's, like I said, he might lose a step, but he has a lot of good boxing experience. And he's been in there with some strong punchers. Let's also keep in mind that Devin Haney hasn't really fought any of the top 140 pounders yet. He went against one big guy and got badly hurt against Ryan Garcia, which was not a real 140 pounder neither. Shit, he never made 140 after a while. He was always 143. He was up more, right? So Devin only fought Regis Progress. That's it. Moving up from 135. You got to remember this. He never really tested himself with the top 140 pounders ever. So this is another test for young Devin Haney. It's not like Devin Haney already fought the Arnold Barbosas of 140, the Subriel Matias, the Richard Hitchisons of the 140 pound weight division. No, he didn't fight Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor. He didn't do any of that. He didn't fight Puello, Sandor Martin. Nobody. All he fought was Regis Progress. That's it. I gotta see this shit. There might be some big upsets on this card. All right? One of the biggest upsets on this card. Tell me you guys wouldn't be shocked if Rolly knocks out Ryan. Rolly goes out there and boom, Ryan goes to sleep. Yo, that Devin Ryan Garcia 2 fight, pretty much out the window. Either of these guys lose. Turkey's really putting everything, like, riding on the fact that these two guys got to go in there and take care of business and win. Either of them lose, does the rematch happen still? I would like to see the rematch regardless, right? They can both lose. I still want to see them fight. I still think there's a market for it. But not sure. Rolly knocks out Ryan. He's going to want to fight Devin, right? That's what I thought. I think if Devin wins. Now, if you got two losers, Ryan and Devin, fuck it, put them in a fight. They both lost, right? Or does Teo step in on a big victory and tries to fight one of them? I think Teo has to, for me anyway, right? Let's just keep this in mind. Teo's slick as hell. Does Teo still get this extension with Top Rank? Because in the Top Rank contract, it says if you're fighting for unification or you bring Top Rank of title, they negotiate another 5-fight deal with you, right? Technically, Teo is fighting for a piece of the title. He not only is he defending his belt, but Arnold Barboza has an interim. I mean, how do you count that? because he's on his last fight with Top Rank, right? He wanted out of Top Rank. How does this work for Teal? And is he going to stay with them? So, I mean, this night can play out a lot of different ways. Then we also got the Tower Inferno going up against Booker, right? And I don't give Booker much of a chance here unless he catches the Tower Inferno sleeping, like, and he makes some big mistakes. I think that the Tower Inferno is going to be too long for him, too strong. He punches fairly hard. Sebastian Fundora, he punches fairly hard. For 6'6", he's just a puzzle in itself. He learned in his last two fights, he was fighting long. He's been criticized for being such a long, tall guy, always fighting on the inside, mixing it up with guys when he really never used any of his abilities. He always like went in close with the guy, but his last two fights, he's been looking better fighting longer, you know. Let's see him get this title defense out of the way. I believe that's what him and his dad really wanted to do, to write his name down in the history books as a man that won a world title and defended a world title. You completed the ceremony as far as champions. No one can ever take that away from you, and then it's on to the big fights. Errol Spence Jr., the Charlo twins, their names have been thrown around in boxing. They just haven't made any appearances. The Charlo twin is going to try to do his thing now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like. You know, Errol Spence Jr., I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we'll ever see that man in the ring again. I'm on the line that I've already heard them announce him or put his name with so many different fights, and they just never happened, that I'm just going to sit back and watch with Errol. If Ryan and Rolly goes to the cards, look, guys, all this thing that every fight is bought and paid for, like if you go to the judges, like this stigma that some people are putting around, like it's taboo to go to the judges' scorecard, right? I don't think so. And I don't think that a lot of these judges are being paid. I just think there's a flaw in the system, and it's making it look like some of these judges are really biased or they had an agenda. It could very well be that at times, but I'm going to explain to you where the flaw in judging lies. You see, because when we have big events like Saul Canelo Alvarez versus, I don't know, let's say William Skull right here, right? Two nationalities. So what both sides are going to say, we don't want Mexican judging. I don't want a Mexican referee, and I don't want any Mexican judges in attendance. And then the Mexicans say, we don't want any Colombians or Cubans or Puerto Rican because it's Latin. We don't want any of them. So what happens is the officiating, the judge, the organization, the entity that is the officiating in sports, what they do is they fly in a judge from Japan, a judge from Italy, and a judge from Russia. Here's where the flaw lies in what you're doing. What happens is, okay, you're trying to be fair to both fighters. You don't want no bias, Latin judging. So you go out and get judges from around the world, which this is exactly how they do it in every fight. Here's where the flaw lies. The judge that judge fights in Japan's judges by the judging rules structure in Japan. And the judge in Russia does the very same thing. So when you bring them together and the guy from Italy together, They've been trained to view fights a certain way where they're from. These judges are not seeing it the same. They're not being trained to view a fight the same way under the same rule structure. Because where they're from, it's different. They might award punches landed. Over here, they award forward aggression. Over here, they award effective punching. So you're not really quite sure that all three judges are on the same line. And when you hear these cards called, they're really off or whatever, it's because, and it makes it look like, oh shit, the judges are being bought. Nah, they're not bought. They're viewing the fight. They're thinking they're calling the way they always call the fight back home. And here in California, that shit doesn't work. The amount of punches you threw 20 jabs. This judge awarded you the round. When this judge saw that you threw the better power punch and staggered him, he awarded him the punch. And the other judge said, I'm not saying that the power punch was good, and I'm not saying but the volume of his punches won him the round. What I'm saying was he was the more aggressor. So I'm giving him the round. Your system is flawed. It's not going to work, the judging. And that's where the flaw is in the judging system. That's exactly where it is. And it gives you this perception that these judges are being bought. Listen, let me tell you something. Not every referee in the world is going to take an envelope full of money and put his credibility on the line. That'll be the last fight he ever judges or ever be invited back to be the referee, the third man in the ring. That dude with the eye, right? When the Javante fight, if you look at his officiating, his refereeing fights, he's been in the ring with them all. And I mean with them all. Terrence Crawford, you look at his fights, he was right there. Tank Davis, Devin Haney, he's been in the ring with all in some of the biggest fights in the world. And you want the world and the refereeing to think that he took a bribe in one fight and put his credibility as a referee on the line just for one moment. Let me tell you something right now. The referee that can say he was in the ring with Ali on that night, he was legitimately the third person in that ring. That's a big moment. How about being in the ring with Floyd? How about being in the ring on that night in the biggest fight of the century? Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. Who got that assignment? And if you get a mark or a stain where the people don't want to invite you back, yo, that was the worst refereeing I ever seen in my life. You'll never be invited back. They're just eager to throw away their career. And this problem in boxing could be addressed. The same why Turkey Al Sheikh with that TKO shit, right, didn't hire the assistants of Ed Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, Top Ranks Bob Arum, Frank Warren. He didn't, all these people that were in boxing way before who? Dana White? Why didn't you hire anybody of these guys? Why? Turkey said, you've been here the entire time and y'all ain't did shit to fix this. This has been this way and you guys have all been here for years. You ain't never fixed nothing. Why would I hire you when it seems like you guys are partially to blame for this? You ain't changed boxing. You guys didn't get together and fix this? Well, let me go get somebody that knows how to build something. Dana White built the UFC from the ground up. He didn't hire Dana White for his vast boxing experience. He doesn't need that. He needs a guy that knows how to build. That's why he got Dana White. And all these other guys want to get offended. Turkey's looking at him like, you guys been here the whole time. And boxing's still the same way you guys came in. You guys ain't changed shit. Trying to stir shit up. Make real changes in boxing. But don't fuck with the belts, my man. Turkey, don't do it. I don't care if you want to put up your own belt and your own little TK. Go ahead, do whatever you want. My advice to you, work with the sanctioning bodies. Just work with them. You got to make the sanctioning bodies make you more attracting than the rest of the promoters. Take those sanctioning bodies and put them in your league. And your little idea there with working with one belt, one championship, your little vision, Turkey, from me to you, it'll never work. Not in the sport of boxing, and I'll tell you why. Okay? The reason why one belt works in the UFC, you only got 45 guys, 50 guys in every weight division. You don't have a huge roster. It's always the best fighting the best because just the top guys. That's where one belt would work. We've come too far in boxing. There are over 50,000 active boxers in the world. Way over 50,000. One belt for one division where there's 2,000 guys on average in almost every weight division. Sometimes there's less, sometimes there's more. But on average, there's about 2,000 fighters registered in a division. You mean to tell me you're going to have one belt for 2,000 guys? You're going to destroy boxing. The reason why that will never work now in today's era, where boxing's too big. It's not the USC small shit. That's where one belt, that's where we started from, one belt. And we realize even in today's era, where you got 10 belts in one division, meaning you got 4 major, 4 minor. That's 8 belts. And then you got these phony baloney franchise or diamond or youth. There's about 10 belts in every weight division today. And there's not enough belts to go around to please everyone. There's men that are fighting right now that, what was that kid's name that tried to call out Shakur Stevenson when he had a last minute replacement? He was on social media talking about he's 42-0. 42-0 fights. And he's never competed for a world title. Frank Martin never competed against a world title until Tank gave him an early opportunity. These guys are fighting 20, 30 fights. Never fought for a world championship yet. That's how hard it is to get to the world champion fights because there's not enough belts. And we're complaining about cutting out the interims in boxing. We don't want the interims no more. We only want the 4 major sanctioning belts. That's all we want. And that's going to be tough. These guys would legitimately have to fight each other over and over. Like not mandatory, number 1, like keep boxing moving. And you would have to have the networks and everything to work with each other in order to get that going. But I think 4 belts can work. It can work if you got the fighters moving. But boxing can never go back to a 1 belt era. You'll kill boxing. That's foolish talk. That's some guy not thinking it through. Oh, just 1 belt, 1 champion. Really? Really? What happens when that champion gets injured? Breaks his hand. What? Now you're gonna? Well then, Introduce the interim belt to one guy. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Boxing realized you can still capitalize off different styles of champions. There's more money in the pot. You mean to tell me I could have 4 champions in a division? I could be marketing Carlos, Juan, freaking Yaimin, freaking, you know what I'm saying? A Russian dude. How do you say a Russian guy's name? Whatever. I try to say an Asian dude's name. I don't think it worked out great. I picked Yamin, like the biggest, tallest dude I could think of. But anyway, you know what I was trying to do. Because you can market champions from different parts of the world. At least you got 4 of them. And then it gets exciting when that champion fights this champion. Oh, shit. Now, I got 2 of the belts. And then he talks shit to the other champion. Hey, you. And mother unification. It gets exciting. I like that. One belt, we'd go back to the dinosaur ages. That's a man that never experienced something bigger than what the UFC has. The UFC has maybe 45 guys in one division, and 40 of those guys you never heard of. You only heard of 5 guys in that weight division. Think about it. Name me an entire UFC division. Go. Anybody. It's not going to happen, bro. You're only going to know like the top 4 or 5 guys. That's it. And then if you notice in the UFC, when they release the guys that are in their ranking, you can't help but notice some of these guys are in the same, listed in 2 different rankings just to fill their roster. One belt works there. That's where that shit works at. Not in boxing. Nah. So Turkey, unless you work with the 4 sanctioning bodies that are already there, you can have your little TKO and you could still have your 1 division per champion. If you want it that way, just assign each organization to each division. Make like the 140 the IBF division. The only belt you can win at your 140 would be the IBF. The 135, the only belt you can win there is the WBC. You can keep it 1 belt, but use the sanctioning body belts that are already in place. Meaning you can't win a WBA at 135. You can never win an IBF at 135 in your organization TKO. Make it like that. Still work with all 4. And if the fighter themselves ever said, you know what, I want to fight for an IBF, well, you would have to go to that weight division. But you would still be honoring the belts. And then if, say, regular boxing in your TKO boxing, ever champions want to clash, and let's say in your organization, the IBF champion can't be established because there's an IBF in this boxing, well, in that case, you have the IBF for the TKO, you have the IBF for regular boxing. Then you fight those 2 champions. Shit like that. Because if you're thinking, well, then what if the IBF champion isn't fighting for TKO, he's fighting for regular? Just make it that the IBF has an IBF for their boxing and an IBF for the TKO boxing. You could take both champions, then fight. Same shit as doing a unification between Arnold Barboza and Teal. It would kind of be like the same thing. And the only way you could determine which champion's legit, have them fight together. But work with the sanctioning bodies, Turkey. That is my biggest advice. Find a way. I might not have all the answers. Okay? And there's probably holes in what I'm saying. But at least I'm trying to like point you in this right direction. I think that's, you got to figure it out in that way. Whatever way you want to figure it out, my mans. What's up, Hellspawn? There's a picture of what? Whale's right leg after the fight with Sandor Martin. Look, like I said, there's two men in the ring. Okay. And I believe that Sandor Martin's only downfall, he's not a strong closer. He allowed that fight to get away from him, I believe. I truly believe that. Same thing with Teal. I think Sandor Martin was doing great against Teal, man. He just didn't close. He didn't know how to close the fight, how to finish. I say this all the time. The reason why Oscar De La Hoya lost to Felix Trinidad, I'm going to my grave with this. And I know a lot of people agree with me. Oscar ran those last 3 rounds. He didn't close it against Felix. I'm Puerto Rican. Felix is my guy. And I can honestly tell you, Felix was losing that fight against Oscar. Oscar, for whatever reason, Oscar decided to get on his bike and run those last. That's on him. He blew it. Sandor Martin, he's not a closer. No, he's not. He's good. He's great, crafty fighter, man. You know, but you gotta know how to close, man. What one Teal that fight against Loma, he bit down on the gum shield, and in the championship round, he stood right there, right in the center of the ring, and said, Loma, let's go. Let's bang. That's what won Teal that fight. And that he won like the first 5 fucking rounds straight. That also helped. Fucking Loma didn't start fighting till like the 6th round. So that also helped him. But when it was time to close the night, to close the show, and that's what I'm talking about, you gotta know how to close. And Sandor Martin just doesn't know how to close. He doesn't close well. And I saw that in that fight. Yeah. So yeah, man, fight fans. Listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. Please get these likes up, smash the like button, share the videos for me, comment on these videos for me. And let me know what you think. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for pulling up in the morning. I'm gonna see if I go on tonight. We can kick some boxing around. We got some big fights coming up. We got the I wanna watch the Sebastian Fedora fight. Look, I might not tune in for this George Camboza 4 in the morning type shit. So, but hey, it is what it is. But I am definitely tuning in for the fights leading into May. And then we all know the big fight in May. Naoya Inoue coming against Roman Cardines May 4th. I'm going to be in attendance out there in Las Vegas. I need me some Japanese attire. You know what I'm saying? If I could wear the 2 samurai swords into the building, I would. But the metal detectors are going to go off, so I can't do that. But I will be draped up in that Japanese, like one of them like Japan samurai like suits and shit. Yo, that shit will be dope as hell. I'll have like the swords and shit, but with the swords taken out, put like the handle, make it look just that way it won't go off, and put like a suit. If I could, I would dress like that. That'd be crazy to show my support and shit. I think my man is awesome, man. Naoya Inoue, I think he's great for the sport. I like the example he sets for the young men and women coming up. That hard work and dedication in and out of the ring you can achieve a lot. So I think that a lot of fighters need to take a page out of his book and the way he conducts himself as a fighter in and out. I love it for the sport. I love what he stands for. I like how he brings a lot of fighters with him. He brought a lot of his countrymen. and he brought eyes to that side of the world. I gotta commend him for what he's been doing. He's been keeping my sport alive, and thank you, Naoya Inoue, and all the men and women every day around the world that lace it up and dare to be great inside of these rings. Thank you for keeping our sport alive. Thank you for bringing us all the blood and the knockouts that we as crazy fans want. And thank you for putting all the hours in the gym, the real blood, sweat, and tears where it all goes down, all this hard work where that, you're running and jogging and killing yourself, hitting the bag, and no one ever sees that. I'm letting you know right now, I see you. I see you, and thank you for everything that you give to us in this sport of boxing. So have a great day, everyone. Don't forget to give these videos a like, and I'm